Yes.
We go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Toby Marcial. I've been on the board for, I guess, more than 3 years, probably somewhere in that range, but haven't been in the room, as they would say in Hamilton, since February of 2020.
Welcome back.
So I'm a different person, heavier, et cetera, after COVID. So nice to meet all of you.
Patrick Wilson. I joined about 6 months ago.
Adrienne Kingus, I'm the library media specialist at Oregon High School.
Wendy Rawson, I'm the library director.
Tim Powers, I'm the admin assistant.
Tegan Carroll, I'm the Adult and Technical Services Manager.
Phil Hansen, I'm the Access Services Manager.
Jim Wheeler, District 4 Alder.
Perfect.
Right, and up on the screen, we've got
Ron Serenian, been on the board for about a year now.
And Ann Camillo, I serve as the treasurer of the board and been on the board for 5 years. Not sure. I think it's about 5.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for showing up. So we've got our agenda in front of us, public appearances and non-agenda items.
Nope.
Nothing. Approval of minutes. I would need a motion, please, to approve the May 2023 draft minutes.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Discussion. Tim, did Wendy give you those?
Yep, I made some
okay.
edits. Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't want to bother to repost, but they are fixed on our
Yep.
end, so.
Thanks. Then if there's no discussion, all in favor of passing the May 2023 draft minutes, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's report.
All right. So you've got the register and the overview. Not a whole lot interesting going on in the month of March, but a couple of things I just wanted to point out. We do have in account 325, we've got 2 staff members that are going to be attending the American Library Association conference. It's in Chicago, so they can take the train. This was just registration. We'll see the rest of the costs of that later. The good news is that we were able to have them apply for a continuing education grant each with South Central, so that covers $400 of this $500 registration, which is fantastic. You'll see a lot of charges in 340 for the teen room update. That was a project that we did with the Friends of the Library with their end-of-year giving campaign. So we updated the gaming consoles and bought new games, and we bought new screens so that the new gaming consoles would work, that kind of stuff. And we've seen more teens down there, so that's been good. We've been happy about that. Other than that, nothing that jumped out at me. Any questions? All right.
Okay.
We should have a motion to approve.
May I have a motion to approve the financial register and overview, please?
I so move.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, unfinished business.
None?
Never.
Never?
Is that good? Number 6, new business, policy reviews. Number 1, access services, conduct, code of conduct.
Just a note before Phil starts. So typically, each manager has a number of policies that they're responsible for. They run them past the managers group. We all kind of put input. They bring it to the board. So typically, you'll only see people once a year. Phil has very nicely stepped in to do the code of conduct and the display policy because we felt like they needed some updates sooner than we didn't want to wait. I think Kristen, you services manager, will have these. It's kind of Tim's fault.
Yeah, not my fault.
Because they used to be his.
Yeah.
But Kristen's not coming until later in the year, and she's brand new in her job. So we wanted to get this taken care of now, which is why Phil is here twice this year, which is good because he's also going to give us a tour of the sorter after the meeting. So take it away, Phil.
Sounds good. Yeah, so the changes to the code of conduct, which I apologize, there are a lot. We, with the culture and the kind of the environment of book bans kind of being on the rise and challenges going forward that way, we wanted to make sure that we were kind of all on the same page and that we were addressing it a little bit more directly. We went through and read through local library policies. We actually used a little bit of this that we got from the PLA we went to like 2 weeks before COVID.
Yeah.
So before
Yeah.
everything shut down. And including some policies from libraries who have received challenges and had some difficult conversations with patrons about this. So we used that. We used the Juneteenth and the Pride Month proclamations by the city as kind of a guiding force for how we're going through this too. So it's sort of twofold, and we tried to take a lot of the vagueness out of it. We used to really actually intentionally have it in there, so leave it up to staff discretion, and we were a little bit more direct about this is the best that we can do, but obviously staff are going to have to make judgments while they're here in the building about behavior and how that works, and then took out a lot of the vagaries to kind of make it a little bit more specific about what's allowed and what's not. So if this is allowable, I'm not going to necessarily go through every single line because there's a million changes. So the vast majority of them are just like a rewrite for consistency with the language. And I believe I labeled those pretty clearly in there. The first big addition that we have is just adding in, like I'd mentioned before, that we are stating that the document cannot include all aspects and scenarios of working in a library. Staff are going to have to make judgment calls while they're there to make sure that this is safe and welcoming. And actually, this was a good line from, I think, one of the Madison policies about specifically saying we'll always work to try to educate people first, that we're not, before moving on to any kind of stronger measures or enforcing the policies, which is really how it goes in the day-to-day in the library anyway. So from there, we sort of split things out into, we used to have it basically grouped as just being sort of like air quotes disruptive behavior. And we decided to be a lot more specific about that. So what we ended up doing was sort of listing it out of being something that's actually like overt and aggressive. So starting off with basically committing or attempting to commit a crime, being a little bit more direct about that, and then specifically about abusive, aggressive, threatening behavior, including towards staff members and towards patrons. We then sort of split it out into, it might not be as abusive and aggressive, but it's still inappropriate for in a library, so indecent, profane, discriminatory, pejorative language, we added that in. And then basically a couple of different types of like general disruption, noise disruption, being on a cell phone, on speakerphone, full blast in the quiet reading room or something like that, or more direct, or actually more vague disruptive behavior of just sort of being a little bit too loud. We changed it a little bit just to say for the possession and sale, distribution, consumption, or being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. We added a similar and rewrote a similar instance with the smoking, vaping, and using tobacco products. Same deal for possession, sale, distribution for weapons. We had that in there before, but we just made it a little bit clearer and double-checked the actual policy, the state statute that talks about that. We rewrote some more stuff in there. We tried to split out into sort of individual behaviors a little bit more. So inappropriate use of library facilities, we ended up changing it. We ended up adding sleeping in there because we used to have that in a different spot. We ended up rewriting quite a bit more just so that the language all kind of matches there. Some specific new things that we added were about a little bit more than halfway down on the second page. Taking library materials into the restrooms, intentional concealment of materials within the library. We actually realized recently that that's not, it was implied by the policies before, but then we wanted to be direct. So basically we had said before that intentionally concealing items in the library is a violation of, I believe we said either the privacy policy or something like the theft policy. You're right, the theft policy. So, and the theft policy is really more specifically talking about trying to sneak things out of the building.
Right.
So, as opposed to people taking things and hiding them in the building.
And we've had people take display books that they don't agree with and hide them in the library.
Yeah. So, last Pride Month we had someone do that. So, we added, and this was actually from the seminar that we went to at PLA, the failure to follow reasonable directions of library staff is kind of the last bit of kind of intentional, like, overview vagueness of staff are going to do what they need to do to kind of keep things safe and peaceful in the library. We added manipulation of library displays that follow into the next policy that we have of the library policy. And then I think beyond that, it's mostly just rewrites for grammar and for, not grammar, but just for kind of consistency in how it goes. So we didn't have changes to the room designation or to the unattended child policy or to the kind of process for how conduct violations are handled. It felt a little weird sending through something with 29 comments on it, but does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I think this is really just a sign of how the world is functioning now. So I think that using disruption has worked for a long time, and I think it just doesn't anymore. I think we learned a lot from the mask mandate. I think we learned a lot from just people being more argumentative. We had a situation where we had to tell someone why they couldn't play their full-size keyboard in the library. And yeah, so there's just been a lot of new and interesting things that I think you never expect, but yeah.
Right, so,
Yeah.
The only one that surprised me a little bit is you can't rollerblade or skateboard through the parking lot.
yeah.
Not like a those darn teenagers
It
thing.
feels like it, but I think it's actually an insurance thing, isn't it?
I think it's
So,
insurance, but I also
yeah.
think we had some kids damaging the rock walls outside, which you would think would not
So?
crumble under that, but it does.
So,
So,
yeah, so,
As long as we're not aggressively persecuting people who are just rollerblading.
no, definitely
Sounds
not,
good to
so.
me.
Again, since we're not a park,
It's
it
exactly.
seems like they shouldn't be rollerblading, and if they rollerblade to our location, they can take their rollerblades off.
And they
And your
often
shoes are in your
do.
backpack, and
yeah.
Exactly. We get people who do skateboards, rollerblades, bring them in, grab their
Right.
stuff and go, and that's not a problem at all. It's really just for something that might be disruptive or unsafe, so.
But it includes the parking lot, so.
well, again, the parking lot, though, is not a park, so when you get here.
Yeah.
you
That's
take
true,
your-
but if you wouldn't rollerblade, stop at the street and then take them off and
I mean, we're for sure not standing at the edge of the
Yeah.
park, stopping people from doing that. But if you're gonna, do circles around and try to jump off of stuff, then we will stop it.
Which we've had happen
Yeah.
in the past. I've talked to
Yeah.
people about, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Thank you for the consistency throughout the document.
yeah, absolutely.
It really reads well now.
So,
If I may, I did have a question about some of the language. Bill, I really appreciate the effort it takes to make consistent language. I know that that cannot be easy at times. I'm wondering on the unacceptable behavior, a lot of the bullet points start with an active verb, like engaging, committing. I'm wondering if we could continue more of that on some of the ones that don't. For instance, like if you have indecent, profane, discriminatory, engaging in indecent, just to make it really consistent and really clear to people.
absolutely, yeah, I can do that. So, would that be something that we would need to bring back to the
No, I think
group
we
if it's
can-
not a substantive
No.
We can
change or
approve
anything? So,
with-
Because it won't
Sure.
change the meaning, it's
Right.
just making
Right.
it really consistent
Even more
language
consistent.
throughout, because there's a lot of bullet points.
There
And I
are.
just think that might be helpful.
Sure thing, yeah, no problem. So,
Agreed. The bicycle line doesn't really read as a sentence.
Right.
gotcha. So, yeah, no problem. That sounds like a good idea to me. So,
Wendy, I do have a question about the, any child 7 or younger. We've brought this up in the past and talked about 8-year-olds are really young still. Is this a South Central Library decision, or is this a decision you have made?
No, this is something that I think the managers decided on.
And why, having been a teacher, 8 is young to be unsupervised. Why that number?
I think we've seen 8-year-olds ride their bike here, stay at the library, check out, and go home
And behave.
and behave.
Okay.
I think 7, to me, feels like maybe not quite old enough to do that. And it's different with every child. I mean, obviously,
Right.
you've got 9-year-olds that probably shouldn't be doing that, and you've got 6-year-olds that would probably be okay, but we don't really want to test that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
If there are no further questions, comments, clarifications,
I do have one question. Is this part of the orientation for staff,
Oh, yeah,
new staff?
yes.
How does staff learn about this?
So we've got all of the policies on the website, and it's something that a manager would go over, like in their first week or so, we have them read over
Yeah.
kind of all of the policies so that they're able to talk to patrons about them.
Yeah, and
Okay, thank
it's,
you.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
anything else? If not, may I have a motion to approve? Wendy, are we doing these separately, like the
Yes,
code of
please.
conduct then?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will motion to approve the code of conduct. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, then the other policy that I was bringing forward is actually a new policy. It's our policy governing displays in the library. So displays kind of exist in a couple of different ways. They might be things that we highlight for specific times of the year for summer reading. They also include books that are just on the actual physical wire displays in the stacks as well. All staff end up helping out with this, and we all end up kind of curating the collection that way. We encourage the shelvers to put things out as they come through, and then we have larger kind of initiatives and plans for specific displays throughout the year. This was something else that we know a few libraries in the area that had had issues with people objecting to the content of their displays. So we felt that it would be helpful to have this be a little bit more direct about why we have it, sort of how it happens, how we manage it, and kind of what the expectations are from here. So we started off with the purpose, the library mission and vision, went through briefly how the library endorses the Library Bill of Rights, freedom to read, freedom to view, talked a little bit about sort of what the criteria are for making those decisions, and then broke it down a little bit more specifically from there on the second page of basically talking about dedicated and materials in the stacks, how those are maintained by library staff. We strive to have them include a wide spectrum of options and viewpoints. Displaying a topic doesn't necessarily mean that we agree or disagree with it, but that we do think that it's an important part of being a library is having materials that cover all viewpoints from kind of all different angles, and directly saying that we're not going to exclude topics, media, or other resources because they might be considered controversial. So, specifically talking about rights and responsibilities for children if there are books that they don't want to read, and kind of what to do from there. Specifically talking again at the end about how it sort of contributes to the mission and vision of the library. So,
One of the reasons that we developed this is that there are a couple of other libraries in Dane County that have had some serious dust-ups with people who don't agree with some of the materials that were displayed, and it was on their suggestion. So at Dane County directors' meetings, we were talking about some of them who have had a real hard time with some groups kind of targeting the staff and being kind of terrible. But I think this is just step one of, like, this is how we choose things. This is our right to do it, kind of protect our materials and our interests.
I thought this really made it clear to anyone who's reading and wondering why you do what you do.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
We had previously talked about the art displays and how we're not doing that. Is the difference here that this is like library driven?
Yes, so this is, and you'll notice when we go through the collection management policy, it kind of echoes that in kind of the organization and the feel of it. So this is because it's materials and not art.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wendy, do you need a separate okay for that, or is the reconsideration of library material form part of this?
No, this will be separate.
Okay, then may I please have a motion to approve? What is it called exactly?
so moved.
Thank you, Anne. The collection management policy,
Oh, no, display, sorry.
I'm sorry?
Still on
Did I go-
display.
Did I go up too far?
Yeah, we just
Sorry.
need a,
Okay. Anne said yes. So all in favor, please say aye.
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 I,
Opposed? Motion carries.
excellent.
So we are down to Fitchburg Public Library request for reconsideration of library material form.
So we're at
Nice.
Adult and Technical Services, under policy review.
I'm sorry, did we just approve the
Display policy.
Yes,
whole thing?
display policy.
Okay.
So now, what we're going to do before we start with the next 3 policies is have Tegan do a little presentation on adult and technical services,
Thanks.
and then we'll go into the policies. So she's going to share her screen so you can see at home.
All right, so I'm Tegan, the Adult and Technical Services Manager, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about our department and what we all do. So kind of split it up into 2 different parts. There's adult services and technical services. So adult services is staffing the reference desk. So we answer a lot of reference questions, people looking for specific materials. We also do a lot of technology help. Printing, even like patching documents to email, that sort of thing. And then we also do the selection of the adult materials for the library. So that includes books as well as the AV materials. We plan adult programs. So we have a lot of book clubs. That's kind of what's been popular here. But we do also have some larger programs throughout the year. We'll have authors come in. We've done like an electric vehicle program that's always been really popular, those sort of things. And then we also manage displays, pretty much what Phil was just talking about. We have one upstairs as well as downstairs that we pick different topics each month, and we have a rotating so that all staff members can have a part in that. And then we also sort through the donations. So we get a lot of donations throughout the year. We go through those and see if there's any materials that we want to add to the collection before then sending them on to the friends. So that's kind of the adult services aspect of it. And then the second part is the technical services, which I get a lot of questions about that because people always think technology, but it's more technical. So it's managing the catalog records. There's Get It, which is our acquisitions module. So that's we track all our purchases through there. So we do invoicing and sending item records to the catalog there. Then we also add and edit catalog records. So if there's anything that needs cleanup, like errors in item locations or statuses, we fix those. And then we process all the new items. So some of our items, they come in already with barcodes and labels, but we kind of put the finishing touches on them. Or if there's items that we add, like it was a donation, then we kind of do the full process. And then we also do manage magazine subscriptions. So we have a good number of magazine subscriptions that come in, and we go through receive them, change the old ones so that the new ones are the ones that check out, and make sure that we're continuing with them. Because a lot of times we'll get gaps that in between, like all of a sudden we stop getting one. So it's kind of making sure we get all that. And then as far as our staff, we have 2 part-time librarians. So there's Erin and Rebecca. Erin does our selecting for all the fiction titles. So she goes through and picks out all those, keeps on top of all like the series and make sure we're getting those. She also does a Wednesday morning book club as well as through other programming throughout the year. And then there's Rebecca, who does all our AV. So that includes DVDs, music CDs, and audiobooks. So she selects those. And then she is also doing a book club. That's a Good Yarn Book Club. And then she also does different programs throughout the year. They also both help with the processing of materials as they come in. And then we have 2 part-time library assistants. And to make it super confusing, it's Cora and Kara.
And they started in the same week.
Yes. So they're newer in staff. They both started in April, but they've jumped on board and been right on top of things. And they do primarily, most of their job is doing the processing of the new materials. So as they come in, getting those ready to go out on the shelf. And then they also are both starting some programming, so they'll do a little bit of programming throughout the year as well. And then they all staff the reference desk along with Lisa, who presented a couple months ago. She's the electronic services manager. So that is
Excellent.
the department.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions before we move on to policy? Excellent.
All right.
All right.
All right. So the first one we have is the collection management policy. So it's quite a long one, but not quite so many changes. We just have one, and it's kind of following up at what Phil mentioned is kind of the status of a lot of challenges going on. And that addition is just saying that we purchase a wide variety of topics, and some of those may be offensive to some people, but the reason we are purchasing the item is all the previous information that's in the policy, and that's why we follow those. So that's kind of the reason for adding that in there. And that was one of the recommendations from the American Library Association as well. That is the only change that we did make to that one. Any questions about that?
If there's nothing she can clarify, then may we have a motion to approve the collection management policy?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then motion carries.
And then, kind of as a piece of that, the next one is the request for reconsideration of library material form. So this is the form that people would fill out if they want to contest any item that is in our collection.
Tegan, has anyone done that in the past, let's say, 5 years compared to the last 6 months? Have we seen a change there?
We haven't seen an increase.
Not in
No,
ours. Okay.
yeah.
We did get one last week.
Yes.
But I think I've shared with you, we had one not too long ago about an eating disorder book that they felt like was giving some bad advice, and we read through it, and we all hated it as well, and it was left over from our opening day collection, and it was pretty terrible. I think I had more issues with it than the person. And so we took it out and found something better. We got one last week for a DVD, and it basically said that they thought it was insensitive.
Culturally insensitive.
Yes, culturally insensitive, and it's a Tom and Jerry DVD, and Tom is wearing a big feathered headdress, and I was like, yes, that is insensitive. We have enough Tom and Jerry, we don't need this one. So it has worked out, like, I know everybody is like all primed for this to be somebody wanting to take out something that shouldn't be taken out, but it does work both ways.
Yes.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
So the first addition we made was asking if the person represents themselves or an organization, and then if they is an organization, the name of that organization. We just want to have a better understanding of where they're coming from. Then for question number 1, we added in your own words, please summarize the plot and or content of the material. And that's just, rather than giving a yes or no answer, giving a brief overview of the material, just so we know for sure that the entirety of the work was viewed or listened to.
Can we add more space there for someone to fill that out?
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
Yes. And then for question number 2, we also asked them to be a little more specific, include page numbers, and then also provide citations in support of their objections. And that's just, again, trying to get a better idea of what the objection is and get some clarifying information from them. And then finally, we added a new question in, and that's explain how the material fails to meet intellectual freedom standards. And this is just making sure that they've read through the collection management policy, and as well as the addendums to that, which are from the American Library Association, just showing that we do want to cover information and allow people to have access to a variety of information.
Could you put a link there or something so that people know what those are?
Yeah, there is a link in the collection management policy.
Could you
Did you
link
want
it
to
in
add
the
it
form?
to the form as well?
Yeah, I agree.
That'd be-
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Yep. Sure. Do that.
Will people be filling out this form online? Is that available online, or are they getting a paper copy and they're coming in and doing this?
Right now, it's just to print off as a paper
Yeah.
copy.
So a link really wouldn't serve a whole lot of purpose long-term. I mean, if you get a piece of paper, you're not going to,
Yeah.
Right.
but, okay,
But it is on our website, so if they were viewing it on our website and wanted to
Then they
review
could.
that
Yeah.
before, we could do that.
thank you.
Or if it. if
It would
is
still
on-
have the address. Oops, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All in favor, then, I need a motion, I'm sorry, to approve the reconsideration of library material form?
I had another question, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Is the signature of citizen, does it have to be a Fitchburg citizen?
Yes.
Or, yes,
Yes, yep, and that is in the collection management policy where the link to this form is.
okay, sorry, I missed that.
Oh, that's great.
I so move to approve the request
Thank you.
to reconsider form.
Any other clarifications? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the photocopy and copyright policy.
And we did not have any changes to this policy. It's kind of a pretty much standard year-to-year thing.
Anything she can clarify for anyone? Then I will motion to approve the photocopy and copyright policy. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. President's report, number 7. I have nothing, just thank you all for your time and efforts. We appreciate it, especially the staff staying late. Appreciate that. Number 8, library director report.
All right, so I'll start with all the good news. The Friends had a book sale this weekend. They started Thursday night. That's been kind of new in the last year, so I would say they started to do like a preview sale on Thursday night. They get a lot of book dealers, and that was fantastic. They had people lined up out here. I want to say like
Almost out to the desk.
yeah, like an hour and a half before the sale opened. So that was great. I think they made $3,400 over the whole weekend. So that's fantastic. They put in a lot of work to that. It's a lot of sorting, ongoing sorting as things come through, but then also like boxing things up. We've got a shed in the garage. They pile them in there, we'll bring them on up. They've got to set everything up. So it's a lot of work for them, and we appreciate that. Summer reading started on the 12th, so last Monday. We had 185 people here for The Magician, which is very much a pre-COVID number that we were very happy to see. So last year we did summer reading. It was fine. It was not as busy as it had been pre-COVID. I think we were all sort of just deciding that was kind of what the new normal was going to be. And we were wrong, because it's been crazy busy in here for the last 2 weeks. So that's good. Things are going back to, I guess, what we would call normal. Just a reminder, we've got the closure. So our internet will go down now. We found out at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 28th. We are going to muddle through that evening, and then we will be closed Thursday, Friday, Saturday. As I mentioned, I think in my email, our discussions about 85% of our circulation going through self-checks. I don't think with the volume of people we've got in this building right now, I just don't think we could keep up with it, even with all the staff pitching in. So staff will be here Thursday, Friday. We will be doing everything we can to keep up with the sorter that will not be checking in or sorting. So we're going to be back to doing everything by hand. So. Another thing I just wanted to update, because I know Renee had asked me about this, and I had another question about it from someone at the city. There is a program out there about state park passes being checked out at libraries, and it sounds amazing, and we were all real excited about it. And then we looked into it, and essentially all that program is that the library is paying the $5 daily fee for anyone who wants it. So there's not a discount. There's not, like, we don't buy a pass for the summer and check it out. We just have to pay the fee. So I think there's no way to budget for it, and frankly, no way to justify spending a lot of library money on state park visits. It's lovely. Some libraries are doing it. Not very many, which I think is kind of telling. I'm slightly annoyed that they're selling this as like a benefit to libraries, because it's really just a huge expense, not a benefit. So anyway, I also mentioned B-Cycle is coming, I think. We are still waiting for docs that are going to be out here on Lacey and Research Park. I believe there's going to be 5 bikes that will be parked there. There's going to be another set over at the senior center. We are in the process of altering they're changing up their contract because I'm unwilling to take on a $3,000 replacement fee if we check a bike out and it doesn't come back. So that the person that checks it out will have to sign something that they're liable for it if it doesn't show up, or it shows up in a pond or in a tree. I think there's already been some interesting things happening. So we're working on that. I had really hoped that this would be kind of going by now, and it's not, so I'm not sure what the timeframe is going to be. It does not require any, like, concrete work or anything. We've got the pad out there. We're moving some benches around. I think that part of it should be pretty easy, so I will keep you posted when that happens. Okay, that's everything for the library director report.
Okay, we're going to move on then to
Can I ask a
committee.
question?
Oh,
Sorry. I noticed also that the rec department, Parks and Rec, is selling like water park passes and some other Milwaukee Zoo passes, I think. I wondered if there might be an opportunity to integrate that with summer reading at all as prizes, or just to offer them.
Possibly. We get most of the prizes that we do are coordinated through South Central. So they're advocating for all of us together, which I think gets a better rate. So we might just leave those to the rec department and stick with what we've got.
Okay.
any other questions or clarification? Clarifications? Then we'll go to committee reports. Strategic planning, please.
We are moving forward with, and you'll see when we go on our tour, doing some improvements in the sorter room as kind of our last strategic planning project. So we are, fingers crossed, going to have the sorter in production by the end of this week. And so we're looking at carpeting and painting in there. The only other update is that the calendar, it has been updated by the management group, and I will bring it to you at the next meeting. I thought it was too long to go through at this meeting, but we'll bring it to you in July.
Facilities?
We received emergency heating and emergency cooling plans from Strand, who is designing the new chiller that is coming later this year. They're kind of terrifying to look at. It's for emergency cooling, we would be parking a trailer with a portable chiller in the book drop lane and running pipes through the emergency door, down the stairs, into the basement, through the garage, into the mechanical room, and then it actually says, like, break into this pipe. Terrifying. It's already June, like, fingers crossed, we're gonna get through the summer, we don't need to do it. Temporary heating is not that destructive to the building, but it is like 38 space heaters plugged into one circuit each, so we don't blow anything. And that is noted that that is just to keep the building above freezing. So fingers crossed we don't have to do any of this, but we do have plans in place, so at least we wouldn't be scrambling to find out if there is, you know, a heater that you can park outside and hook up. There's not. Like, so we know what we would have to do in the case of doing it.
What is the cost for the chiller with all that logistics of piping and everything?
Oh, for the cooling, it's $18,000 to install. That includes installation, removal, and 1 month of running it, and then just running it for a month is like $7,250. If you did not attach a cost to the heating, I think we would be trying to get a bulk discount on some space heaters.
Are we talking about space heaters in different locations that
Yes.
people could bump into and touch?
Yes, but you can get them so that they are cool to the touch.
Okay,
They've come a long way.
And they're
So I feel
electric?
like they're, yes,
and our bill will be huge.
yes,
Okay.
correct. They didn't even try
Emergency
to, they didn't even try to estimate that.
So for the emergency plan, you don't have to buy them in case of an emergency? The plan is wait till there's an emergency and then go
Yeah,
buy
I think
them?
they've got some vendors that they would recommend, so.
But if there was such an emergency, wouldn't everyone else be looking to buy space heaters?
No, because the emergency would be our chiller failing.
Our heater.
Okay, so not like a
So it's not like,
large-scale
it's not like a
emergency.
polar vortex is causing us to do it, it's just that our mechanicals have failed.
Okay.
So I think, I don't want to say anything. We have plans. I don't want to use them. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry I asked about facilities.
It's almost always that way with that
I
one.
might not
isn't
come
it?
back for another 3 years, Wendy. I'll be up on the screen. Okay, personnel, C.
Youth services is fully staffed. Super happy to say that. So Tim moved up here, and Kristen, our youth services librarian, moved into Tim's position, and then Margaret, our library assistant, moved into Kristen's position, and then Lynn, that used to work here during the beginning of the pandemic, who had left to deal with schooling with her kids, came back into the position that she was in before she left. Everybody, 2 of those people started on the first day of summer reading. God bless them. We are fully staffed. Everything is good.
Thank you.
Full house down
Yes,
there.
yes.
Quite wonderful.
All the seats are filled. We're happy to see it. All right, that's all.
All right, then, announcements. The next library board meeting will be July 19th at 5:30 PM. Thank you all for coming, and may I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Patrick. I thought I heard you.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, okay, motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 6:11 PM. Thank you, everyone.
And now we're going to do a little tour.